All right, today we are diving into a book that really sent some serious shockwaves through conventional history. I'm talking about Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods. Its main idea is, well, it's about as bold and controversial as it gets. The theory is that a highly advanced civilization, totally lost to time, left us a message, and not just any message, a warning, encoded in the world's oldest myths, maps, and monuments. So you might want to buckle up because we're about to question pretty much everything you thought you knew about the ancient world.
The whole investigation really kicks off with a question that just turns history completely on its head. What if some of our most ancient artifacts show knowledge that they just shouldn't have? What if they hold a picture of our world as it was thousands of years before we thought anyone could have possibly mapped it?
So, where do we even begin to unpack all of this? Well, the book starts with the puzzles, the physical clues our ancestors left behind that challenge everything we think we know.
Our first piece of evidence is the Puri rice map. And it wasn't dug up in some grand archaeological dig. Nope. It was just found kind of by accident in a library in Constantinople. But what this little piece of gazelle skin showed would ignite an absolute firestorm of debate.
Okay, get this. The map was drawn in 1513, but it shows the coast of Antarctica without its ice cap. I mean, just think about that for a second. The ice has been there for thousands and thousands of years. But it gets even crazier. To map the world with this kind of accuracy, you need two really advanced things: spherical trigonometry and a way to calculate longitude. The math, okay, it existed, but solving longitude at sea, that was like the holy grail of navigation. That puzzle wasn't cracked until the 1760s when John Harrison invented the marine chronometer. That's over 250 years after this map was made. So, how? How could a 16th century map maker know something that modern science wouldn't confirm for centuries?
The mysteries, they don't stop with maps. Not at all. They're literally etched in stone all around the globe. Take the fortress of Sacsayhuaman, way up in the Peruvian Andes. It's built with these enormous interlocking blocks, some of them weighing over 100 tons, and they're all fitted together so perfectly, you can't even slip a piece of paper between them. Now, mainstream archaeology says the Incas built it, but the book points out a pretty major problem with that theory.
It seems the Incas themselves, who inherited these lands, couldn't actually replicate the technology of whoever built this stuff first. There's a historical account that describes an Inca king trying to move just one of these massive stones. The whole thing ended in a catastrophe, killing thousands of his men. So if the Incas couldn't do it, who could?
And the strange findings just keep coming. Over in Central America, we've got the colossal Olmec heads. These are massive sculptures carved from volcanic rock, and they show men with features that many people identify as African. But here's the thing. They date back thousands of years, long before any accepted history of contact across the Atlantic. So who were these men, and how did their portraits end up carved in giant stones in ancient Mexico?
These physical puzzles are really just one side of the coin. The book then suggests that if we just listen, really listen, we can hear the echoes of a lost world in the shared myths of ancient cultures, the whispers of the gods. So check this out. On completely opposite sides of the world, we find these strikingly similar stories of a pale-skinned, bearded civilizer god. In the Andes, they called him Viracocha. Over in Egypt, he was Osiris. Both are said to have shown up right after a world-changing disaster, put an end to barbarism, and gifted humanity with the tools of civilization, things like science, law, and agriculture. And it's not just the civilizer gods. The memory of a great world-ending flood is basically a global phenomenon. You have Utnapishtim in Mesopotamia, the native traditions all over the Americas, Deucalion in Greece. Cultures that had no known contact all share this deep, profound memory of a time when the world was almost completely washed away by water.
So this is the question we're really forced to ask, right? Are all these recurring things, the impossible maps, the megalithic technology, the shared myths of bearded saviors and a world-ending flood, are they all just a series of incredible coincidences? Or are we looking at the scattered puzzle pieces of a single, forgotten chapter of human history?
This brings us to the absolute core idea presented in Fingerprints of the Gods. The book proposes a really radical solution that just might tie all these strange clues together.
Okay, here's the theory in a nutshell. Before our recorded history, there was a sophisticated, globe-spanning maritime civilization. And this civilization wasn't brought down by a war or a famine. No, it was wiped out by a natural cataclysm on a scale that is almost impossible to imagine, right as the last ice age came to a violent end.
And we're not talking about a quiet, gentle melting. The period between about 15,000 and 8,000 BC was a time of just immense global chaos. We're talking ice sheets kilometers thick collapsing, sea levels rising like crazy, and entire species of megafauna, giant animals like the woolly mammoth and those elephant-like Cavarionis, they were just gone, wiped from the face of the earth in what was basically a geological blink of an eye.
Even Charles Darwin, looking at the evidence of mass extinctions in South America, was just blown away. He concluded that whatever happened during this time must have been a catastrophe on a planetary scale, something that shook the very framework of the globe. So in this context, the myths suddenly take on a whole new, powerful meaning. They aren't just campfire stories anymore. According to this theory, they are the actual memories of the few people who survived this global disaster. And those civilizer gods like Viracocha and Osiris, they weren't actual deities. They were human beings, survivors, carrying the knowledge from this lost world, trying to restart civilization among the scattered, traumatized tribes that were left. They are the fingerprints of the gods. But if this lost civilization did leave a message, what was it? Well, the final part of the book argues that it wasn't just a history lesson. It was a warning, a message encoded in science and myth, meant for a future civilization, one advanced enough to understand it. At the heart of this warning is a complex bit of astronomy, the precession of the equinoxes. It sounds complicated, but think of it like a spinning top. You know how as a top starts to slow down, it begins to wobble? Well, the Earth does the exact same thing, just on a much, much grander scale. This slow wobble takes almost 26,000 years to complete, and it causes the position of the stars to gradually drift across the sky over huge amounts of time. And according to the book, the ancients were obsessed with it. And they encoded their knowledge of this cycle in a recurring myth, the story of a great cosmic mill. This mill, which you can find in stories from all around the world, represents the axis of the Earth. Its slow, steady grinding symbolizes the predictable cycle of precession. But in these myths, the mill eventually breaks or collapses, or just goes completely haywire. And when it does, it unleashes chaos and destruction on the world. And this isn't just one isolated story. I mean, from Amlodi's mill in Norse legends to the Sampo in Finland, and you can even find echoes of it in Cherokee, Egyptian, and Central American traditions. This imagery of a cosmic machine that's linked to both creation and destruction is everywhere. The book's claim is that this is no coincidence. It's a code. Here's the kicker. Modern science has now confirmed that the long-term cycles of precession do, in fact, correlate with the coming and going of ice ages. The myths, through the metaphor of the cosmic mill, make the exact same connection, that massive earthly disasters are linked to the slow, predictable movements of the stars. It's a warning that the heavens and the earth are connected in this powerful cycle of destruction and renewal. And so, Fingerprints of the Gods really leaves us with this one final profound question. It presents all this evidence of a forgotten chapter in human history of a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed by a global cataclysm. And it suggests they left behind fingerprints, a message, a warning for the future. A warning that what happened to them could happen again. And it asks, are we finally advanced enough to read the message they left for us? Are we listening?